everybody, and welcome to another episode of Friends Per Second. This is the every other week podcast that is available on all major podcast platforms and the video version graciously on SkillUp's YouTube channel. I'm running the show today. I'm Jake Baldino from the internet, Game Ranks, my own channel, and this very podcast. I'm joined as always by Ralph, aka SkillUp, Gerard,
Hello.
aka The Completionist, and the No Girl podcast this time. Unfortunately, Lucy is doing this whole big giant bomb thing. The bombathon. Is that legal? Can I say that?
Nice. It sounds very risque. I like it.
Yeah, but she's doing a giant bomb thing. Very cool, crazy streams over there. But we are joined by a excellent friend replacement, Blessing Adeoye Jr. from Kinda Funny and host of various things. Most recently, you may have seen him on the Disney Games Showcase. Blessing, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? Thank you so much for having me, guys. This is awesome.
I mean, thank you for being here as you're like a professional talker, man. I feel like you've been talking all day on Kinda Funny things, and then you come over here to talk more.
Professional talkers. Like, I listen to you guys talk all the time. It's always so weird to know that people do the same for me as I do for you, where it's like they wake up, they go to Kinda Funny, and they just listen to whatever video is there. Because that's what I tend to do for I listen to Before You Buy that is up for the day, right? Or I listen to whatever the skill up video is for that's up in the day. Same with Completionist. And so yeah, it's fucking wild that. Or can I cuss here?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah, you can. Australian YouTube channel, of course. It's illegal if you don't cuss. Come on, man. We've got quotas to hit. Otherwise, I get in trouble. So please, keep it up.
But yeah, no, I talk a lot, and it's wild to think that people like to listen to me talk a lot.
Yeah, it goes around both ways. I mean, today I was listening to you on what is it called? Kinda Funny.
KFGD.
Yeah, you're talking about Gotham Knights and everything, and how you're not the biggest Batman person. So that's going to be an interesting conversation later on the podcast. Be sure to catch that. But that's funny. How long have you been at this? You've been doing this for a while, right?
Define this, making content, podcasting, video games. Cause in 2016, it was that I actually started a website called OK Beast. And the whole reason why I started the website, right? And that website was a site that I was making podcasts for, writing articles, doing video essays, making all the video game content that I could. I started that website so I could get a job in the industry. Essentially, I wanted to work at an IGN or GameSpot or Kotaku or whatever site would hire me. And even that desire spanned back before that, right? It was in college where I was like, dude, I want to do full-time video games media work, right? I want to work in video games journalism or wherever they'll have me on the media side. And that was when I was in college. So I'm talking 2012, 2013. And I quickly had the rude awakening of, if I want to work in the industry, I got to have a portfolio and actually do work that I can show people to then hire me. Because in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to the University of Illinois. Oh, I have a communication degree. I can use that and people will hire me. And no, it turns out that I need to be actually doing the work if I want to do the work professionally. And so in 2016, that's when I started, and it turned into this is just a portfolio. I'm just going to make podcasts and video essays and whatever for this website. And a couple years in, it turned into we actually have a community here of people that watch the content, listen to the content. I had partnered with my homies, Alex Van Aken, who now works at Game Informer, Moises, who does work for Pace Magazine, and a group of us that all wanted to make content together because we were friends. We started doing that stuff together, and the more and more we made content, the more and more we built a following, and that then ended up with OK Beast becoming a thing that people a few people around the industry became aware of, and that eventually led to me getting to work at Kinda Funny, and I officially got hired onto Kinda Funny at the beginning of 2020. So for that, it's been almost 3 years at this point.
Well, so far so good.
Wow.
Keep up the good work, champ.
Thanks. Man.
Wow.
You're still green as far as we're concerned.
I love that you call out Ralph for the dad jokes and then you say, good job, champ.
Good. That's right. Keep it up, kiddo. You'll go far in this business. Man, I want to ask actually what it was like to get that phone call or email from Disney/Marvel about hosting a gig with them. How the hell did that come to pass?
Dude, that was wild because I didn't know how to process it when I saw it in my email, because I think I saw an email and the subject line was D23, or it was D23 something. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm getting a press email from D23, and then I click it and I'm like, oh, okay, no, it's this is probably an ad thing. They're wanting to collaborate with Kinda Funny for D20. And the more I read it, the more I'm like, oh no, they want me to host their game showcase. this must be a mistake. They must have meant to send this to like Greg Miller or somebody else. I don't know why they're hitting me up for this. But yeah, I got that email. I was very surprised about it because I'm not I've not hosted a showcase to that degree. I had done some stuff before for I did one hosting gig for Skybound, and I partnered up with the homie Janet Garcia, and we got to like co-host Skybound game showcase, which was like more indie stuff, more of the like board game stuff, even stuff that they were working on. The Disney thing, I read that and I was like, D23, holy cow, that's huge. And in talking with them, the first meeting that I did, because I set up a meeting later that week. And in that meeting, they were talking about how they wanted me, one, because they saw that I did the Skybound thing, but then also, they had people there that had watched Kind of Funny Games daily. And the way that they viewed the D23 Disney Marvel Game Showcase is, hey, this is headline driven. This is headline focused. We want somebody who understands news and understands how to communicate news and understands like what the big points are in terms of, hey, we're hitting this game. This game is going to come out this date. Like, we need you to understand what the important aspects of this are. And it was a good kind of marriage of, yeah, I get to do this every single day for Kind of Funny in the form of Kind of Funny Games Daily, or our video game news show that is a podcast. So it's an hour every single day of talking about news and headlines. But then, yeah, taking that and get to add in the personality side of Kind of Funny, which is, hey, bring the jokes, bring the energy, bring who you are as a personality, and put it all on the table. And so, yeah, talking to them in that first meeting, I was like, cool, I understand what you guys want from this. And I'm so happy that they saw me as a person who could give that to them.
Sure. No, it's awesome, man. You crushed it. So congratulations.
Thank
Watch out, Jeff Keighley. Your days are numbered as the number one host, man. Blessing's coming for you.
Yeah. or you can hit me up and have me at the Game Awards and I can present something.
Either one.
Yeah.
We can be friends, Jeff.
We can be friends, Jeff.
All right, well, let's talk games. The biggest thing this week, if you are watching, we're right around Overwatch launch time at the time of recording this video. Overwatch 2 is out, sort of, kind of. It's been having a lot of issues. It had a DDoS attack right after launch, thanks to some jerks. Do you guys say DDoS or do you say DDoS?
I was just about to call you out on this. What's this DDoS business, my man? Come on now. It's a DDoS.
Sounds like annoying. It sounds like a weird like bootleg Portal villain. So I say all of the letters at once.
DDoS.
Yeah. So that has been a thing. Server queues have been pretty lengthy, but people have been starting to get some matches in. I got some matches in. Some of the team at Game Ranks got some matches in. It's just in an interesting spot. It's like a weird launch, right? It's essentially pales in comparison to what Overwatch 2 was kind of announced as. It felt like this bigger thing with this whole PvE mode. And what we got now essentially is, to me, more of like a foundation laying thing for their new free-to-play model and how that's going to work, and a couple of new characters and stuff like that. Ralph, you had kind of talked publicly about this on social media as an Overwatch outsider.
Sure.
Now that it's out, like where are you at with it?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I did try to play it earlier and failed, obviously. I was in the queue for like half an hour or so, and it was like 400 people ahead, and it was like ticking down. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm nearly there, no worries. And then I get to 0, and then it says like, oh, searching for a server. And I'm like, okay, sweet, let's go, baby. I'm ready. And then when it found a server, it said positioning queue 30,000. I'm just like, yeah, all right, I'm done. And look, that's totally fine, by the way. DDoS sucks. I think some people are mad at Blizzard because they're like, oh, why isn't your security better? And it's like, well, you don't fucking know how this security works. We don't know how the security works. Like, see, these things happen. I feel bad for Blizzard in this moment because like it sucks to have a launch spoiled like this. But I am more focused on like the pre-build-up marketing stuff. And I just barely even knew that this was, if I wasn't covering the news every day, I wouldn't have even known that this was coming out. And as someone that does cover the news every single fucking day and like lives and breathes all of this shit, I don't know what the value proposition of Overwatch 2 actually is, you know? And like now I can list some bullet points because people started spamming me like, oh, it's this, and this.
Yeah.
But all those bullet points are really minor things. Okay, minor's not the right word, but like, they're the things that would typically come as part of an expansion or a major content update in other games. None of it I look at and think, oh yeah, man, that's why they dropped the 2 on that, you know? So, yeah.
I got a question, and maybe this is just because I'm an idiot and I missed the boat on this, but I remember there being a huge thing where they went, if you have Overwatch 1 players can play with Overwatch 2. And then fast forward to the day before Overwatch 2 launches, and everyone's like, Overwatch 1 is officially a dead game. And they shut it off. And I had a brain aneurysm because I remember specifically they were saying, hey, if you have Overwatch 1, don't worry, your content is still intact. Did they just migrate all your content from Overwatch 1 into Overwatch 2 instead of trying to let players have the best of both worlds?
Yes, from what I can gather, because I didn't have a lot of stuff to migrate, but it's like you can do a BattleNet migration, and there's also cross progression, so you can even switch from one platform to another, which is cool. I have seen some people having some issues with that. It's the early days. I kind of get that, but yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's like now everybody downloads Overwatch 2. And that's where they're playing. So Overwatch 2 is the new thing.
Do you think it's okay that they deleted Overwatch 1? I mean, I've seen different perspectives on this. What do you guys think? Is it all right that they did that, or?
If it was a PC only game, I would be fine with it. But it is a multi-console game with PS4 and Xbox One, which has achievements and trophies. And that is going to be an insta down for me because immediately, if you buy this game used, if you get it from a friend or anything like that, you cannot experience the game.
I saw an interesting thing on Twitter where the Overwatch 2 is loaded into Sony's PSN backend as Overwatch 1. So it actually shares
it was so confusing.
Achievements.
I was talking about this yesterday. So we were yesterday during our stream, I was talking about, or we were trying to get into the PC version of Overwatch 2. And after just endlessly trying and failing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up the PlayStation version of the game and see if I can get in there. And if you rewind back to earlier in the week, I had played some matches of Overwatch 1 on Monday because it was the last day of Overwatch 1. And I was like, you know what, man? It's the last day. Let's send it off with a bang. Let's have fun. Yeah. This piece of history right here. And so fast forward to me yesterday, right? The launch day of Overwatch 2, trying to play on my PlayStation. I booted my PlayStation and I'm like, oh, that's odd. The Overwatch 2 icon is already on my dashboard, right? Like I don't even have to update or anything. It's just sitting there. But like it's Overwatch 1 and then like the text under it says Overwatch 2. And I'm like sitting there confused. And then right next to the Overwatch 2 text, it has the icon of the disc. Like I have the disc in the console for Overwatch 2. And I'm like, that's not right. Right? Like it's a free to play digital game. How in the world do I have that? And then it hit me that like, oh, on the back end of the PlayStation 4, for whatever reason, for Overwatch, right? It is just the same game. And so they hit a button and it's just an update to the original Overwatch since they sunsetted that one and they're implementing this new one. But like on the I don't know if this is a PS4 backend thing, but for some reason, whatever reason, on PS4, the Overwatch logo is the old Overwatch logo as opposed to an Overwatch 2 logo. Because I assume you can't change it maybe on the PS4. That's my guess, but it was mind blowing when I realized that like, oh shit, no, it's just an update.
So am I just an asshole then for getting the information wrong and that like you can still get trophies for Overwatch 1?
I don't think you're an asshole because I think no one, unless you are an active Overwatch player who has actively been researching this product, no one knows anything about this fucking game. Like again, where is the marketing? Where have been like again, I know there's gonna be people in the comments like, well, I saw this and I'm like, okay, sure, I know that they exist, of course, right? But like Apex Legends updates and Fortnite updates, when they drop, like I know what's in them. Even though I'm trying to avoid Fortnite stuff, I can't avoid it because I know exactly what's in it.
Your face.
Because I'm just so spammed with marketing, with social stuff, with whatever. And with Overwatch, it's like Blizzard have this kind of secret that they're keeping. It's like they don't want anyone to fucking know this is going out, and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, here's here's our sequel. Please, like play it. I guess maybe like.
Did you guys see that they're putting the Sanderson sisters, the witches from Hocus Pocus, into Fortnite?
This is what I'm talking about. See,
no, I made that up. I made that up. That's not real.
Okay, right. I was seeing that.
I saw a TikTok that was about how they put the queen in Fortnite, and I was like, I don't know if this is a joke. I can't believe if this is a joke or not.
So do you think
her glider is two corgis that she grabs? Like it's like this.
Oh God. Ralph, it's funny that you say that though. Not that part, but going back to essentially how it's like, here's this thing. Maybe it feels to me like a shareholder thing where it's like, okay, we have to have Overwatch 2 out technically, but it's also like undercooked, or it's not what their original plan was. Like they just wanted to get the whole. They wanted you grinding and battle passing and all that, but like the one I say that as somebody, the only thing I was looking forward to, because I'm not like a big multiplayer guy, but like I like what they've done with Overwatch, is the PvE mode, this like single player, possibly story based ish PvE mode, which like people like video game press people had, I think, previewed a little bit at some point. They had been able to go and shoot bots and enemies and stuff like that. So I was really looking forward to that stuff, and that seems like that's still way a ways on the horizon. Yeah. So it really just comes down to the changes. So the changes, just real quick, a new game mode. It's called Push. The meta has changed a little bit with the tank. A lot of the base characters are tweaked a little bit. It's now 5v5 instead of 6 versus 6, which I will say, and again, I'm not super into the game, but like I did notice a difference jumping in. I was like, oh, this seems a little faster, a little crazier, but not crazy in the sense where everybody's just doing shit on screen. Maybe it's because like I was playing with people who maybe knew what they were doing, but it definitely just seemed like cutting down a little bit, was able to focus things and hone things in a little bit more.
I thought it was a bit more focused too with the 5v5 versus the 6v6. I think it's the thing of depending on your role, as I heal quite a bit. I like playing Lucio or Mercy sometimes, or Baptiste. And when I'm a healer, I think the 5v5 is actually a pretty good shift, because it is I can see where everybody's at on the map. Like I can keep better track of my teammates. There's not as much going on. And then even for the other roles, I think having an easier count of, okay, no, I can kind of get a vibe of what my whole team is doing at the same time. It's a bit easier with the 5v5 versus the 6v6. And I think it helps a lot.
There are 3 new heroes now. Have you been able to mess with any of them?
No, I'm not being able to play is the thing. I've been one of the victims of the whole launch day / DDoS debacle. And yeah, I spent the entire day yesterday trying to play. I couldn't do it. Tried again today. I couldn't get in, and I'm hoping it gets solved soon. But yeah, I've not gotten to get my hands on the newer characters. I did play during the preview sessions that they had earlier in the year, and with that, I got to play like the new push mode, and I actually did like that mode, and I like some of the modes that they cycled out, because they took out, I believe it was 2-point capture, which is not like it's not a fan favorite mode in Overwatch. But playing push, I kind of dug it, right? It kind of felt like a fun game of tug of war. I was bad at it when I played it, and I think that's just it's my first time doing it. But you know, I could see that developing as I go and as I play it more. I could see myself having fun the more I get into that mode.
Yeah, it definitely it's an interesting mode where it's like it's kind of sticking to like what Overwatch is. It's very much like you need to stick towards a thing, and like, you know, but I thought it was kind of creative. I only got in like 1 match of it, or 2 matches of it, but pretty cool mode. So I'm curious to see like what else they can really do with that. Gerard specifically, how do you think this is going to do now with Overwatch? So Overwatch 1, cool, great. It carved out its own thing. But Overwatch 2 launching like this while there's also so many other games begging for your time, where do you think it's at?
I got to go with Ralph on this one. I think you're a company like Activision Blizzard, where your entire reputation right now has been on the brink for the last 10 months, since January, right? Since the announcement of their acquisition from Microsoft. We've all just been wondering what the hell's going to happen with Overwatch, what the hell's going to happen with Diablo 4. Diablo Immortal was such a shitstorm. Like, this company has fallen from a once incredible position, and something like Overwatch, when Overwatch came out, I've never been to BlizzCon before. I was at BlizzCon when they announced Overwatch, and it was incredible. The you can feel the electricity in the air. People were so excited to play it. And then I also went to the one where they announced Diablo Immortal, and you could feel the emptiness of and disappointment in the room. And
did you meet Red Shirt Guy? Did you shake his hand?
I did not. No.
Shame.
But that's the thing. That's the issue, right? It's like, it's going to be hard for fans, right? Like, okay, prime example. I love Diablo 2. It's my favorite Blizzard game of all time. Diablo 2 Resurrected came out. It's incredible. I love it. I still play it. None of my friends would play the game with me because they didn't want to support Activision Blizzard. And I found that beat throughout from last September until now, where no one would want to play an Activision Blizzard game with me. And so when you have a multiplayer shooter like Overwatch 2 that's predicated on the fan base that has been creating fan art and fantasizing about what the second one can be, and has been memeing and beloving things like Jeff Kaplan, right? Like Jeff Kaplan was the Hideo Kojima of Overwatch. Everyone loved him, and the memes of him saying nothing for several hours in front of a fire. Like, obviously the team knew what they were doing. Take that and put it in today, it's a whole different product. And it's such a bummer. Like, when you told me there's 3 new heroes, first off, I didn't know there was 3 new heroes. I thought it was the same cast. But more importantly, only 3 new heroes out of the entire cast of Overwatch. They didn't think to go, hey, maybe we should like not retire them, but like almost treat it like Street Fighter 6, right? Where it's like, of course you got your mainstay Tracers and Winstons and whatnot, but look at all this new crew and new art style and new thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm just an old man ranting now, but they had it in the palm of their hands and they messed it up. And it's such a disappointment. It really feels like that. And that's saying as someone who put in thousands of hours into Overwatch 1 and has put about 10 hours in the Overwatch 2 loading screen waiting to play the game.
Brutal.
It's interesting. I feel like I'm still at the very least betting on the power of Overwatch, like the fandom. I think the fandom can like deal with some bullshit because the game Overwatch 1 had its ups and downs, I'm sure, with meta and the community doing this, developers doing this. It's how it kind of goes for those games. I see it all the time when Ralph bitches about Destiny, and then he loves Destiny, and then he doesn't. Like, it's just how these things go.
Do I? Maybe it's a mystery. We don't know. None of us truly do, but none of us can get away from it.
So I think really, I'm hoping that it sticks around because of that community. And I just think like the fan base is like a pretty powerful thing. And I also think that they made really cool shit. So like, that's why I thought the PvE would really inject new life into this thing, because it would give us more presentational aspects of Overwatch. It would give us more of those characters, more of that world that like,
sure,
people really love. And I'm like right there. Like, I want to fall in love with that stuff. And that would have been it for me. But I'm about to, if you can hear, I'm like, oh, I'm about to burp.
Doing full Kermit mode right now. No, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And I feel like there's a really interesting video doing the rounds right now from a creator by the name of Seagull. He was a big Overwatch. You guys know Seagull? Big Overwatch dude at like around the launch of Overwatch, Genshin main, like really just crushed it back then. He doesn't make as much content now, but I think the first upload that he's done in a year on his channel was this video called like the State of Overwatch 2, really just tracing all of the promises that were made about this game and comparing it to what he actually got in the end. And it's not sensationalist, it's not toxic, it's very much just like a matter-of-fact look at like, here's what Blizzard said and here's what we got. And it really does a good job of showcasing how much ambition was promised in the PvE side of the game, where it was almost not Destiny-esque in terms of live service PvE co-op stuff, but it was gesturing in that direction. You were looking at something like that in that vicinity, and then that was eventually scaled back in terms of what Blizzard was promising. And then obviously that has been just delayed wholesale so they could get this PvP side of things out. And again, a lot of people theorize that that is because the PvP side of the game has been so starved for content that they just need to get something out there, like just anything. And I think it's very sad that Blizzard operates that way. And it is a stark contrast to the company that they used to be, where they would just delay everything until it was ready. That was what they would do. And then obviously you get like this, before that, Diablo Immortal, before that, Warcraft 3 Reforged, and the WoW community have their own views about how good the last crop of expansions have been as well. Some real ups and downs there. But look, commercial realities are what they are with that company. They have, as Gerard said, they've had huge challenges. I'm sure they just wanted to get some wins under their belt. But this doesn't feel like, who knows? It's too early to say. Like, no one can even fucking play the game yet, right? But I don't feel like this feels like a win at this point because I don't see genuine excitement for what this thing could be. I don't see people like, obviously hardcore community, they like all of the changes that are coming, sure. But your average punter, your lapsed or potential player, I'm not seeing them excited about the potential for what Overwatch could be. And I think that is why this is shaping up to be a bit of a disappointment, even if it nails the fundamentals of what this game needed to improve for its core community.
Well, I would describe myself as in the group of people that need to be won over by what Overwatch 2 is. Because I'm somebody who I absolutely loved Overwatch 1. If you asked me what my game of the year was for 2016, I would say Overwatch, right? I would even go as far as to say Overwatch is one of the best games of the last generation. Like, I think it is that level of quality. And I'm somebody who's a bit lapsed, right? The years 1 through, let's say, 3 or 4 of Overwatch 1, I was in it. I was playing all the time. I would log on whenever I would see my friends on. And I would have weeks where I'm obsessed, right? Then I take time off, but it would always be that game that never got deleted off my dashboard. You know, I would like take breaks to play God of War or whatever the single player games that I wanted to play were at the time, right? But then always I would have Overwatch there for the time that my friends would hit me up months later to go, yo, let's play some games. But in the last few years, I've not been that heavily invested into Overwatch. And I think part of that comes with the wind down of content for it. But I think another part of that just comes with the fact that not many big changes have happened. And I think for me, Overwatch 2 should be hey, this is the big change that brings you back in. This is the thing that's the entire Overwatch audience is going to show up for and is going to play, and they play it like it's Overwatch 1 again. And I think, there's the argument that for Overwatch 2, right? The way I've been looking at it is as Overwatch 2.0. That's what I've been calling it because it feels like a 2.0 update as opposed to a brand new iteration in a franchise. And I think that's good and bad, right? I think it's bad in the sense of what Gerard's talking about of like, yo, what if this was like a fighting game where, cool, let's get rid of half the characters, then introduce a bunch of new characters, right? Introduce a bunch of new maps, have it be this content refresh of, hey, this is a brand new game that is taking what we started with Overwatch 1 and taking it into a new generation. I think that's the bad thing that we're missing out on in terms of Overwatch 2. I think the good part of it is the fact that like when it's so iterative like this, right? I feel like I look at Overwatch 2 and when it's playable, I imagine it's going to be the best Overwatch has been just from like a micro update perspective, right? Hey, we've been iterating on this for years. We've been looking at Overwatch League. We've been looking at the requests from the fan base, and we are doing this, and this, right? We are, refining the meta. We are adding in a couple more characters to help smooth things out. And this is we're doing like these small things to make it look better. And I think there's the argument that Overwatch as it currently stands is probably in its best form. But I think when you're talking about the way the audience receives it, the launch Overwatch 2016, for me, there was nothing like it. I feel like everybody was playing Overwatch. I feel like everybody was enthralled with Overwatch. I feel like everybody was like, yo, Overwatch is one of the best things on the market right now. I don't know when the last time I had a conversation with somebody like that was about Overwatch. And I don't think Overwatch 2 is ever going to get to a place as it stands right now to where we're back at that level of hype for Overwatch. I think the hardcore Overwatch fan base might get there with like Overwatch League and things like that. But just in the general public sentiment of Overwatch 2 isn't, I don't think we're getting back to that place, which concerns me.
Yeah. I think as well, like, I wonder what this means for when they do eventually stand up that PvE side of the game, because you've had your shot with that number 2. Like, that's the number 2 matters. It's a big deal. It's a real beat that really draws people's attention, and it's an excuse to give it another crack. And we don't get 2 bites of that cherry. You only get the one. And they've used it here. And I wonder when that PvE stuff does roll around, are people going to be like, oh, what is that? What is that? Is that, I don't know what that is. Again, more confusion, less momentum, less of like that big kind of like, on the table moment where it's out and everyone's like, whoa, shit, this is incredible. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how that all lands when the time comes.
Yeah, I hope it's not a Halo Infinite situation where it comes out and for that first week, we're like, yeah, Overwatch is back. And then it's just that thought of, okay, well, like what's more? Well, like what else you got? And we're just like, no, that's what we had. You're not happy? No, what else you got? Where's the PvE? Where's this? Where's that? It's the same thing as like Halo not having Forge and not having campaign co-op and these highly requested features at launch or even in year one, right? That's kind of how I look at with PvE for Overwatch, which is for me, Overwatch 2 was the PvE. That was the thing that was supposed to, I think, get us excited, and that was the number 2 on the box for me when they first announced Overwatch 2. playing Overwatch 2 this first weekend in the preview build specifically, and not having that stuff, I'm like, oh man, all right, this isn't as exciting as I want it to be. It's fun. It's Overwatch, and it's like it's slightly better looking Overwatch with some new characters that I like, but I don't know if it's enough for me at this moment.
I'm wondering if the free to play thing is like the shot in the arm to really bring in new people, even if at right now it doesn't have like a ton of new stuff for people to go, oh wow, Overwatch 2. The free to play, I think, might just bring some people in. As much as I don't like the free to play model, it's just not for me. I don't really play with these things. Do you guys think, like, Ralph, what about you?
I mean, I think PUBG is a really good example of where that works, because PUBG is like exploded. PUBG was always huge, by the way, just not in like Western countries these days. It's more like big in Asia and whatever. But it went a whole nother stratosphere when it went to free to play, like just massive, gigantic growth. But then there's like Destiny, for example, which went free to play. Didn't really have that much of an impact on the growth of the game, I think. Not really a big deal. There's differences between those things ultimately, because Destiny's free to play model is ultimately like free to try versus truly free to play. But I don't know. I think it will make some difference, obviously, if you have the right phone for it, because you need a phone to play Overwatch now. And as in, you have to link your account as like an anti-cheat and anti-smurfing tactic. But if you are on certain prepaid characters, it just doesn't work for you and you're not allowed to play Overwatch. It's like,
yeah, the reports so far are coming out where it's like, it seems like some people are not having issues, but other people are definitely having issues where they're just like, I can't play the game I just downloaded, which I think is pretty terrible.
Well, like, people have been playing this game for years with their friend. It's like their main game.
Yeah.
But you know, they literally cannot play it now because their phone carrier is not supported, which is so crazy. So
I don't want to give a game my phone. Like I give my games enough. Like
yeah, but
I give my games my credit card.
But Jake, don't you already have a phone?
You'll get a text from Tracer, be like, "Hey baby, miss you. Log it in soon?" ?
Could you imagine that? If I ever get that notification from Overwatch, I'm deleting everything off my computer at that point.
Don't worry, the cavalry's here on your phone.
It's also I find that choice weird because they already kind of have a anti-smurfing tactic. They talked about this, I want to say last week. They have what they've implemented called a first time user experience, where like if you're new to Overwatch, if you have a brand new account, you essentially have to play and I believe beat 50 games before you can even jump into ranked.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's enough, right? I feel like that alone, if you're creating a Smurf account, play win 50 games and then go ahead and Smurf. You know, I'm fine with somebody Smurfing if they go through that much trouble. But yeah, to do that and then also to do the okay, cool, we need a smartphone thing. It's a bit overkill in a way that reminds me of like the DRM processes where it's like, okay, I get what you're doing here, but maybe let's tone it back a little bit because I don't want to be always online for this thing. This kind of strikes me the same way.
Yeah, it's also a barrier of entry thing where it's like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. Like, it's free to play. Anybody can jump in. But wait, what?
How do you guys feel about the change over from loot boxes to a battle pass?
So I think that the elimination of a randomized looty box is ultimately good to know and have the transparency of what you are grinding towards and what you're going to get is good. I am also not about this whole thing. So we just put out the before you buy video on Game Ranks, and more I have to like talk about and describe battle passes, and I can't help but just like be bored as fuck talking about them because it just sounds like this like homework, like it just makes things so complicated for only really the sense of monetization and keeping the hamster wheel spinning. And I don't find it compelling. It's almost like cynical, but I'm also realizing it happened when I put out a video on multiverses where I was like, I just don't like the free to play model. I wish I could just buy the game. People are like, stop complaining about the battle pass. The game is free. And I'm like, oh, that's right. So many people now are like growing up on Fortnite and Apex Legends. They don't care. So like it's almost like some player bases were like not around for like Battlefront 2 and then just the rise of more of the free to play model and how it had some growing pains and how sometimes it's like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm getting more and more like old man yelling at a cloud with it.
We've already had this conversation, I think 3 podcasts ago, Jake, but I also agree with you in that way. And I think for me, and maybe Ralph, I'd love to hear your take on it. Can't there be a world where we have both, where you either pay $60 for the full game and there's, free passive patches and updates, or the game is free, but you have to buy a battle pass or earn free currency. And if you have the game, like, do you guys think there's a world where you could do both and still the free to play audience gets their cake and us old retro physical gamers get it too?
I mean, I think there's something a little bit. I know I keep coming back to Destiny, but the reason I keep coming back to Destiny is because Destiny is a very avant-garde game in many aspects, and I think one of its aspects where it sees great success is its hybrid monetization model. Not everyone is going to agree with what I will say, but they have a mix of free to try, paid expansions, a seasonal. What do you call it? You buy a season pass, which comes with a battle pass essentially. And they also have a cash shop, okay? There are lots of things to get in Destiny. You never really feel as though only the best stuff is locked behind the cash shop. And the battle pass is relatively easy to move throughout a season if you're playing a regular amount. It doesn't require an absurd amount of grind. I think that I don't agree with all of Bungie's monetization policies, by the way. Like, don't even get me started on stuff like transmog and whatever. But the different mix of things that they have really works. And I think the question here is like, what are your actual core incentives that you're offering your player? Is it skins? Okay, cool. Do players have a reasonable path to get all of the skins that they want in a reasonable amount of time or at a reasonable cost in the context of a free-to-play game? Has Overwatch 2 completely removed the ability to earn currencies to buy skins? I actually don't know the answer to that. I've heard conflicting things. Does anyone know? I've heard there are some challenges that you can complete that give you some currency. But now I think this is what's really interesting about loot boxes, by the way, because if you ask most of the gamers about loot boxes, they're like, loot boxes fucking suck. But if you ask the Overwatch community, what they will often say, is, hey, the loot boxes rule. They're really good.
I fucking love the loot boxes in Overwatch.
They're super generous and they give you lots of shit and that's it. And it's like, okay, well, that's something worth listening to, right? Fair enough. That makes sense. But I think it's like a false dichotomy of choice to suggest that the removal of loot boxes immediately means replacement with a shit economy, right? If you eventually land an economy that is good and generous, but it's not randomized, then it's win-win for everyone. And I don't know what that economy is in Overwatch 2 because obviously I haven't played it yet. But if they have removed the ability to reasonably earn, to earn what players want in a reasonable time frame, and obviously that's a big downgrade for the game, just as it was in Halo 5, for example, where that battle pass fucking sucks, the challenges suck, the cash shop was way overpriced, it sucked, right? So, again, I don't know, but I do think that there is a middle, to answer your question, Gerard, there is a middle path through this. I think Destiny's finding it on balance. And I think Overwatch sort of had it almost with its loot boxes, even though that model is not super popular with many people. I guess they just need to see if they can find it here in Overwatch 2.
I think the tough thing is figuring out how to balance it and make the current battle pass model fun. Because as somebody who played a lot of Overwatch and as somebody who actually did like the loot box system in Overwatch, I think overall as a concept, loot boxes aren't great. Right. And I think that's because they appeal to that the gambling mentality of like, all right, just another one. Let me just give $5 more. Maybe I'll get the skin that I want. And I think in games that are especially aimed at kids, that becomes a terribly problematic thing. And so I think with that, I'm fine with the shift to battle pass. But to Ralph's point, right, Halo Infinite, I think, had a terrible battle pass because you did not feel like you were progressing at a fast enough rate. And I don't think the rewards in that battle pass were great enough. I know plenty of people, though, that play Fortnite and really, really dig that battle pass system because that battle pass system, I think, is filled with good rewards, but then also objective systems that keep things engaging, right? Where I don't play as much Fortnite as a lot of the friends that I have. My friends, though, I'll hop into a game with my friends and they'll go, all right, cool. So we're going over to, Loot River and we're doing this challenge. And I'm like, we're doing what? I'm here to win. Like, what are you guys talking about? But a lot of these, I think the battle pass system and the objective systems done well creates this meta game around the game that I think can make it more engaging. Like I was playing a lot of multiverses when that came out last month, or I guess 2 months ago. And I found myself actually really digging that system as well, because the battle pass was going quick enough, and then also that had another objective system where it was, all right, play the DC character. All right, now do a neutral special 5 times in one match. And I was engaging with all that stuff, and I enjoyed it. And I think you get that hit of, cool, you got a battle pass that you're constantly making progress in. You're getting currency, so you can take that and buy whatever cosmetic thing you want. And I think it's enough like damage from different directions, damage in a good way, right? It's enough stimulus from different directions that are telling you, hey, you're earning this thing, that makes it feel like I'm progressing like a traditional video game, right? Like being to the old man yells at cloud thing, right? I think we feel that because we're so used to, hey, if you want all the characters in Smash, just play until you get all the characters in Smash, right? Like if you want to unlock this thing, just play until you unlock it. I think going back to the battle pass system kind of invokes that feeling a bit. And to Overwatch, it's going to depend on how quickly you're moving through the battle pass, but then also how are the rewards? Do I feel like I'm getting good stuff out of this battle pass? Is it fun to work through the battle pass? I think the system inherently isn't bad in the way that I think the loot box thing can be construed as bad, but it is easy to make a bad battle pass in the case of Halo Infinite and other games that we've seen.
Yeah.
I think we can all safe to say, though, the most disappointing thing about Overwatch 2 launch week is that Lucy, our resident Overwatch person, is not here to talk about it.
Yeah, I was actually going to wrap up saying I'm looking forward to next episode talking to you, Gerard, and Lucy after you guys have gotten some more time in it. So
yeah, I hope so.
Check back, everyone. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe for next time. Hit that notification bell. If you're on a podcast, hit that notification bell in your mind. I don't know, man. Let's move on.
Put a calendar entry in. That's where you go, man. Just go to your calendar app. Put a calendar reminder for friends per second.
That's really bold.
Give us 5 stars. 5 stars on Spotify.
5 stars on Spotify, on Apple, on Android, all that stuff.
No, I like, hey, audience, put a Google Calendar invite on your calendar for our podcast.
Check out your book, whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
You're on YouTube, download Spotify, give us 5 stars. Thank you.
All right. Next up, the other big thing we wanted to talk about this week is Stadia. Stadia is the big Google streaming thing, and they have just announced that they will be shutting down. It didn't take off like they wanted, and it's going to be no longer accessible January 2023, and refunds for all prior purchases will be refunded. Seems like a big fat L for Google. As you guys know, it now, I think November 2019 is when Stadia first launched. The average gamer definitely complained about it a lot, but it had a fan base. And the service will go on to evolve and change and improve a little bit, but it seems like it still just didn't really stick around. Blessing, what's your experience with Stadia? Did you mess around with it much?
I didn't even touch it. From the get-go, I was like, I'm not fucking with this, man. I don't trust Stadia. I don't trust it as far as I can throw it. And I think part of that comes with just the value proposition of it. You know, it not being a subscription service where you get into Stadia and you have access to all these games like Xbox Game Pass. Right, getting Stadia and then also still having to buy your games just to play them through streaming was a no-go for me. I didn't think that was a good value.
Are we all like, is that the big failure point? That's what I think it was. I 100% think that was the biggest thing. It was gamers buying into yet another ecosystem and having to own and purchase a game that exists only on that platform. Gerard, as someone big on ownership, and do you think that was definitely the nail in the coffin right from day one?
I think there was a couple of nails in coffins. I think the biggest thing to me was that, and you guys can agree or disagree with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This Stadia to me always felt like big dick energy move from Google to make people compete in a cloud space, right? They said, hey, Sony has PlayStation Now, Microsoft has xCloud. And I think xCloud came after Stadia was announced, but either way, they said like, hey, we're getting into the gaming space. We are Google. We can do this. And there is not one step along the way from the beginning of its inception to the announcement of it being canceled where they successfully hit any benchmark of what they wanted to do. There were so many features that they teased about how content creators could monetize with Stadia and have the ability to, you could be, when Ralph, you said this in one of your most recent This Week in Video Games, the feature of being able to, as you're watching someone's review, well, let's say, if I'm watching Ralph's review of Overwatch 2, I can click the Stadia button and jump in and start playing the game.
Incredible.
That didn't
Amazing.
What a cool thing. What a cool thing that never showed up.
Yep.
Never a discussion about whether or not that feature was getting canceled or in development or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was, and it's a huge difference in my mind, telling the consumer we're competing with a console manufacturer versus we're an alternative. They're two different aspects, two different products, and two different marketing strategies.
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley promoted the shit out of Stadia in the 2019 Game Awards. The same awful commercials that we kept watching on loop for 4.5 hours that ultimately didn't tell you anything about Stadia. We learned nothing about those commercials. And so to me, if you're making a product and you don't know how to market it, maybe you shouldn't make the product to begin with.
Yeah, it's pretty astounding because like I never saw anyone at the top layer of like games media or like the people that you see on subreddits or fucking anyone who understands. Sorry?
Or analysts, like nobody.
Or anyone. Like no one said, this is a winning strategy. This is going to go far.
Yeah.
Like every single fucking person who understands how this world works is like, this is a bad idea. Don't do it this way. Do it a different way and it'll probably work. Do it this way. It'll definitely fail. Everyone said that. And it's always so astounding when you have an enterprise like Google with unlimited resources. And I mean literally unlimited. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And they just don't have enough basic sense to be like, let's pull in the people that understand what this is and let's build it around that. And then that's it. Because I guarantee you, if they had done that, this would have been a slam dunk success. The way that xCloud, I know, Gerard, you really want to speak. I'm going to stop. You talk. You're very excited to make a point. Go.
You said in your video too, Ralph, like Google has a reputation for giving up on products.
Yes.
They have discontinued dozens of features from YouTube to Google. Like, how do you get the right people?
Well, I
sorry,
think,
Ralph, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think as well that lack of trust was terminal. And I think it's a very big thing to ask people, hey, don't buy it on PlayStation for $60 or $70.
Right.
Buy it on Stadia for $60 or $70, right?
Even to ask people to don't buy it on Steam for $60 to $70, a platform that's you download your game and actually own your game and not play it through streaming, which isn't like streaming as its own proposition, I think already has all of its own issues, right? And like I think there's value in streaming from the sense of it being an additional aspect to the way you play games. xCloud is great because guess what? I can come home, play that same game on my Xbox, or then turn on my Samsung Smart TV 2022 and later and stream the game from there. Or I can go to work and then like if I want to, during my lunch break, get my phone, boom, turn on xCloud, play it there as well, right? Like that's the proposition, and that even comes with the Xbox Game Pass, where I can pay a small fee, right? Or like I can pay $15 for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and just have a library of games there, right? As opposed to buying games for $60 piecemeal, I can do that on any other platform that has way more benefits than a Google Stadia.
100%.
It's going to thrive as an accompaniment to a consumer being in an ecosystem rather than being its own thing. And it's a shame because the tech is good. I mean, I did a big video on it when it came out, and then a year later I revisited it, and both times, especially after everything was ironed out, like the streaming tech is very good. It's up there with the major players like xCloud or whatever it's called now, Xbox Game Streaming. It's there. And you could tell that's where they spent the money. It was just the rest of it. It's streaming, I feel like, still works better as that accompaniment, specifically because it's better that way because there are so many hurdles and there are so many what ifs. There are so many bandwidth issues, infrastructure issues. In New York, like a large metro area, if I just have my regular internet and I don't have fiber optic, I could I'm barely streaming to you guys, let alone play a video game. And that's here in New York. So like there's so many issues. So it should still serve as like if you want this alternative. Asking to buy into an ecosystem just for that, I thought was insane from the beginning. Yeah.
I mean, if this was, because eventually they did start to sort of like flirt with the whole subscription based model where there was some library of games, but it's very select and whatever else. But if from the start you had come out and said, We are a subscription-based service. We have a library of 100 games that are going to be available for $10 a month. I mean, dude, like so many people are going to jump on that. And if you ran that service for 3 or 4 years to build goodwill, build an install base, like improve the tech and whatever else, and then later on, maybe you say we're going to start selling 1 or 2 exclusives at full price.
Don't take it that far, Ralph. That's crazy talk.
That's right.
First party lineup?
Please.
No.
But
whoever does that.
If you've done something like that and built some cred, built some trust, because that was the other thing as well, that it's one thing to say buy your game here on Stadia for $60. It's another thing to say buy it with Google, who have no track record of sticking with their shit. Like, so it's a big enough risk to say, oh, I'm going to try it with this unproven platform, but it's a whole nother risk to say with Google, you know, to take that chance with Google. So, yeah, man. And as well, I think as well, Gerard, you mentioned like content creation. What a missed opportunity. You have an army of people who would have been so incentivized to pump your system, your platform, if you gave them the right incentive to do that and you gave consumers the right incentive to engage. It would have been free advertising on a scale that the games industry has never seen before.
On a platform that you own being YouTube, right? Do you remember that original Stadia? It was like the presentation or showcase or whatever, where it was, hey, your favorite YouTuber can be playing a game and you can click a button and you can pick up right from their save. You can join them.
You can join them in real time.
Crazy shit. And it's just so frustrating because it's like content creators aside, they're also Google, the top search engine. That could have sold games itself right there. I think so many game developers would have killed to have some sort of crazy Stadia search algorithm ecosystem.
Like if you type, let's say Inscription partners with Stadia, right? If you type in Inscription and Google Inscription, the first thing that could pop up is, hey, play Inscription in 2 seconds right now through Google Stadia. That'd be insane. Like, and there's so many missed opportunities with Stadia, and a lot of them were promised things from Stadia. Do you remember the part in the showcase where they were like, yeah, and the power of Stadia is insane. It's basically as powerful as if you got like 6 Xbox Ones and taped them together. That's how powerful Google Stadia is. Like, I remember like that part of the showcase and being like, oh shit, let's see how powerful this thing is. And we never saw it. Like, there was never a game that came out that to truly showcase the power, at least that level of power for Stadia.
And also, as well, one really critical conversation point that gets missed when we talk about cloud is it's not just, hey, stream your game and play from the cloud. It's also play local games that leverage cloud tech. And that is a promise that has been made since the start of the Xbox One era with fucking Crackdown or whatever.
Crackdown 3.
Never, ever been delivered. There's been no game that is doing that, or except for, and I don't quote me on this, but I believe Flight Sim is doing a lot of that stuff in the cloud. But that might not even be cloud. That might just be referencing a certain like maps database or something.
A literal cloud that you pass by Flight Sim.
So again, Stadia, if they had, for example, work with Hideo Kojima, he is working on a game reportedly that does leverage cloud tech. How funny that, you know, the very first developer to properly tackle this is Hideo Kojima. Maybe, we don't know, we'll see. But apparently they had an exclusive with Hideo Kojima working on a game, and Phil Harrison threw it. Goddamn Phil Harrison, man. What is this dude? How does he keep getting work? I don't understand.
They had that. They had like High on Life originally was supposed to be a Stadia game. And like, there was where was the first party lineup for Stadia? That's the thing that bums me out as well. Like going back to where Gerard mentioned the big dick energy of Google. It is like, honestly, part of me is like, thank God they didn't get any like they didn't buy up a developer or any exclusive developers, because like Lord knows what would happen if Google were the ones to buy Bethesda and they're supposed to work on a bunch of Stadia games and we never got them because of it closing. Thank God they didn't do that. But on the other hand, like, why the fuck didn't you do that? Why the fuck weren't you acquiring developers? Netflix has done a better job of acquiring developers, putting out their games on their platform than Google has for Stadia.
Don't forget they did set up their own like internal development capability and then shuttered it within 18 months. They got like Jade Raymond in there and they had all this money spent, and then they just fired those. Well, not fired, they reallocated those people. But man, again, so silly, so short-sighted, so ridiculous. Like, do you know how long it takes to make a video game, Phil Harrison? It takes longer than 18 months, my friend. Like, and
that's the exact big dick energy where it is, hey, we're Google, we can do whatever we want. Oh, video games, we can do that. And then they way underestimate the amount of work it takes to get a platform off the ground, to develop a video game first party, right? To like get players engaged with your platform and compete with the likes of Steam and PlayStation and Xbox, right? I think they way overestimated what they could do in the space, and they just way failed. And it's unfortunate to see, because I think a world where we had a successful Google Stadia that did all the things right, or even a Google Stadia that was just in NVIDIA GeForce Now, where it is we're partnering with PlayStation or Xbox or somebody so that you can play these games through the cloud. I think there are so many different ways that Stadia could have gone to where it would have been successful or pretty cool at the very least. And they just fumbled it. They dropped the ball.
It's funny, like you guys keep saying big dick energy, but I feel like it's also foolish dick in the sense where all the stories are coming out now, how like they almost had a Hideo Kojima exclusive game. The fact that they were reportedly spending upwards of $10 million per game to get it on their platform, like Red Dead Redemption 2 and like the bigger Ubisoft titles. So it's just like aggressive money for money's sake to get there, but not with the rest of it in place.
Yeah.
One thing I did. Oh, and then the other thing, is that developers are getting burned from this. I hope people realize that there were developers working on games for that platform that suddenly found out just through the news, like, oh shit, it's shutting down. The game we were working on for this is shutting down. So I think that's a huge bummer.
Yeah.
There's two just as we kind of wrap things up, there's two things that I have to laugh at personally, because I think if you are a YouTuber or a content creator or in the digital space at all, this is funny to you. The first thing is that and I told the story to Ralph and Jake before we started filming, that in 2019 Jake and I got to go to this like Google YouTube Gaming Summit.
That's where we fell in love.
It's where we met for the first time and where friendships were formed. And Phil Harrison spoke at about Stadia, and we got to do a Q&A afterwards. And I asked a very scathing question, which I won't reveal, but it silenced the room, and that kind of gave me all I needed to know about the platform. And I hope he's not mad at me still. He probably forgot what I looked like, to be honest. But the second thing is Jeff Keighley, the boy, tweeted, "What's your favorite Google Stadia memory?"
That was so funny.
He knew what he was doing.
The best part was my favorite one, and I never talk about him. Dr. Disrespect tweeted, "My favorite Google Stadia memory is when Fwiz, the head of YouTube Gaming, said that Google Stadia is going to change YouTube gaming forever."
Oh my God.
Oh man.
And Fwiz's response was like, "Don't drag me into this." And it's like, no, like Fwiz, full cap, you should be dragged into this because you peddled it to all of us for years and years and years. And when it finally came out, he disappeared. He disappeared and absolved his sins of it. I'm on you, Fwiz.
I want to ask you guys I want to wrap this up with one question. The biggest thing for me, the most unprecedented thing, is the fact that they're refunding everybody. The refunds are rolling out by January. So you're getting a refund on hardware if you bought the controller or like the Founders Pack, and games that you purchased on that ecosystem. So that means I have probably like between the Founder Pack I bought and like I have like $200 coming to me in January. I'm like really excited.
Yeah,
I'm hyped, man.
All right.
So with that, I want to know what you guys think about that. Is that Google trying to do the right thing? Is it them maintaining goodwill for Google, or is it them actually trying to maintain goodwill for gamers specifically because gaming is money and they know they have another plan down the line?
Huh.
Interesting.
I mean, for me personally, I feel like it's just PR damage control. Like they just know the fallout for this would be cataclysmic if they didn't do this. It does soften the blow a lot. It's like, hey, we tried our best. It didn't work, so we're giving you your money back. And fair props to that. Like, absolutely. They could have screwed people over. They didn't. So yeah, but I don't really see it as any more than that. I don't imagine that they have some other play that they've got in their back pocket. I think their play into gaming right now is YouTube and increasing their presence in terms of live streaming. That's going to be a big focus for them. I don't imagine that Google is looking to become a platform, a game playing platform anytime in the future.
I think this is goodwill for just Google, the company. But I will say, I think in a decade, Google will try again. I think this is I think we're at the end credits of like the Marvel movie where like you finish the credits and it says Google will return. I think Google will return. I think we see them try to re-enter the space. I don't know how. I don't know if it is a box or another streaming initiative or what it is, but I think we see them try again.
I agree.
I wonder if it depends on if Apple does something, if Apple makes another big move or play into gaming, deeper, do we see Google's eventual response for that? And is Google at that point going to be like, I'm glad we bought off all those gamers. I'm glad we gave them their money back.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, them refunding everyone isn't just a good move for Google, but I think it's a good move for cloud gaming in general, because cloud gaming is the essence of, I don't own a product. I am using a service that lets me stream a product that I theoretically would own the license for. And this is a prime example of what happens when you take away the product as a live service to be able to use. So, like imagine if you were playing something like World of Warcraft and the service shut down and Activision Blizzard was like, hey, we're sorry for your patronage. Here's, $13,000 in monthly subscriptions back in your pocket, right? It wouldn't work. But in the case of this, it's like, no, you are paying for a service in which you paid. Well, actually, you're not paying for a service. You bought these games as the service, terms of service, and that's what you're using. And so if you can't use it anymore, the least they can do is offer refunds. But that does tell us one thing, right? It could tell to speculate. How many refunds do you guys think they're fulfilling?
Not that many. Like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, they probably looked at the numbers and they were like, oh, we can afford this. We can afford this. This pocket change to Google.
That's right.
Because 5 of you guys played this.
It's a tax write-off in Palo Alto. They're in Silicon Valley.
It's like smaller than a month's worth of Mr. Beast's YouTube earnings, right? It's in that vicinity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Phil Harrison, the gaming executive, lives to see another day.
That's the true end game. That's the true credits. It's not Google will return. It's Phil Harrison will return in the next gaming debacle.
As I said, he fuck up next.
As I said in my video,
he's the Spider-Man symbiote of gaming. He just latches onto things and corrupts them. I'm sorry, that's mean to Phil Harrison.
As I said, no, it's not. It's accurate. As I said in my video, I really hope that he takes up a leadership position at Facebook, leading their metaverse business. That's my earnest desire for that. I think he'd be perfect for that role. So
it seems pretty likely. Next up, we definitely got a lot of games to talk about that we have been playing this week. We previewed Gotham Knights, but first, kind of wanted to do a little bit of an indie check-in. I know a lot of you guys have been jumping into other things. Steam is having their Steam Next Festival. That's what it's called, right? Am I getting
Steam
that
Next
right?
Fest, yep. Oh, he's got his deck right there. He's whipping out his deck.
Yes.
That's what you can do. That's right. Whip it out. There it goes.
Whip it out, boys. Whip it out.
That's right. Whip it out. That's what we can do when there's no girls around. We could all whip out our decks. That's right.
Okay,
let's go, boys. Let's
Hell yeah. It's my kind of night.
All right, Blessing, since you whipped it out first, what have you been playing indie-wise? And if it's Steam bonus points, if it's Steam Deck, good on Steam Deck.
Bonus points to the Steam Deck. I got 2 that I want to shout out. I'll start off with the game I played on Steam Deck, which is Inscription. So that's one that I started late last year when it first came out. And I played like 4-ish hours of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what this is, and I bounced off. But then I'll keep reading people online being like, yo, this is the greatest game ever. It's one of my favorites. Oh, this game is game of the year status. And I'm like, really? The card game? The card game that I played? That's the game that we're all going crazy about. And so with it coming to consoles this last month, I've taken this as my opportunity to actually give it another shot because it's in the zeitgeist again. And now I have this big, beautiful device called the Steam Deck. Whip it out. Gotta whip it out. Now that I have this, I wanted to give it a shot on this. And let me tell you, all you guys that are like, this is one of the greatest games you've ever played, you were absolutely right. It is a fantastic video game. I got very hooked on Inscription. For those who might not be aware of what Inscription is, it is a roguelite card building, card battler game where you like show up in this room that I kind of describe as like escape room-ish, right? It's like half card game, half escape room. You show up in this like really creepy room. There's this guy who is in front of you who's like kind of like faceless, but also kind of ugly whenever you do get glimpses of his face. And he's kind of working as your DM in this roguelike campaign. And so you sit down with him and he's like, all right, we're going to take you through the woods. And you are doing the, if you ever played like Slay the Spire or like many roguelites, right? You're going down specific routes to like either, it is do you want to do this, pick a random card game, or do you want to do the next battle, or do you want to pick up an item, or do you want to like, there are these different icons representing different parts of, or different activities you can do as you traverse through this map. And so it's essentially a really fun roguelite, with a really creepy vibe and with a lot of weird, crazy shit going on behind the scenes to kind of add this flair of mystery. And when I tell you that I could not stop playing this thing for how good and addicting the card game portion of it is, I am not a card game person. When it comes to card games, the one that I really loved growing up was Yu-Gi-Oh, and that was about it. And playing Yu-Gi-Oh as an adult is hard for me because there are so many rules and so many like cards with just a big old block of text on them where I'm like, I don't even know what I'm reading anymore. You know, like I've dropped off of Yu-Gi-Oh so hard. And so, yeah, I am not a card game person. And I even tried things like Hearthstone. I Slay the Spire. I tried a lot and I couldn't even get into Slay the Spire that much. Inscription, I think, just has this secret sauce of it is pretty simple to understand, but then the game does a good job of kind of letting you get overpowered and cheat a little bit. And you feel fine doing it because the game feels like it cheats you sometimes. You get to a boss fight and they're like, cool, in this boss, we steal your cards every now and then. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, you can't do that. But then the game kind of gives you the facilities to overpower yourself on the way to those boss fights. And it really becomes about like, all right, how the fuck do I get so fucking powerful that I can like really steam through this boss fight before they steam through me? And it's just a really fun process. And so I'm all about it. And then, yeah, that game just has certain turns and twists that absolutely blew my mind, where I was like, okay, cool, this is about to wrap up. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait, no, this is so much more than what was originally advertised. And so absolutely adored Inscription and playing through it.
I played through maybe an hour or so. So I think I've played up to enough where I haven't got into that crazy stuff yet. I didn't put it down for any specific reason other than I just had to move on. Would you say that you loved it because of its card game or because of the other stuff or because of both? Like, does this stand on its own as just a cool playable card game?
I originally, to that question, yes, 1000%.
Okay.
I originally got really hooked on it based on the card game. And then once I got to like the back half portion of it, I was just enthralled with it through all the other portions of it too, right? Like the escape room elements, the weird twists and turns it takes you story wise, like the random shit that pops up where I'm like, oh, what the fuck is happening now? And like the game builds on itself in a way that I don't think you would ever call or ever expect. It gets crazy. And so that stuff really helped pad it up to, oh, okay, no, now this is one of my favorite things of all time. But like before we even got there, just the card game itself, I couldn't get enough because it makes itself attainable, right? Like my first time picking it up this last time around, I want to say I got to the second boss before I died. And I was like, no, I can keep doing this. Like I can get to the end. And then my second time through, I made it essentially to like what I thought was the last boss. And I was like, oh, okay, it's right here. I can do this. I can do like it sets attainable goals for you. And once you blow past those attainable goals, it then opens up something else where it's like, okay, now I gotta see this through. It does a good job of giving you that carrot on the stick. But yeah, the card game by itself, I think, is fantastic. And even though I beat an Inscription, I keep going back for just the card game. Like I just want to play through this roguelite just to get my card battles in. And so I really enjoy it for that. Nice. Gerard, Jake, have you guys messed with
Gerard, you go next. Drop me with an indie.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought Blessing, were you going to ask me about Inscription?
Oh, I was going to ask if you guys played it. If you guys had like Inscription.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Bad host.
I will go next.
How dare you?
But to comment on what you said, Blessing, I did not play Inscription, mostly because I am not the target demo for Inscription. I am not a card game guy. I don't like Hearthstone. I don't like Gwent. I don't even like Pokemon cards. Like I've tried my whole life to get into card building games. It's just not for me. It's a genre I don't dig, but I love watching people play Inscription because I love seeing the thought process. I get a joy out of watching people play the game versus me playing it. But I will say Daniel Mullins, who developed the game, is a mad scientist, and I'm very happy for him. He did a game, if I recall, called Pony Island.
Correct.
Have you played Pony Island?
I've not played it, but I've had people tell me that I should play it.
That game, it's one of those games that like kicks you out into your Windows desktop and has you go back in and things change. It's like one of those like
that's cool.
It's a creepy, messed up experience that pulls you in and pulls you out back and forth. And so when I saw that he was making Inscription, I was like, not the game for me, but I'm so pumped for him because he's a hardworking guy and Daniel Mullins is just a all-round genius. So I'm stoked that everyone loves the game.
I love this little like subgenre of like indie auteur, you know, like Lucas Pope and Sam Barlow and this guy I'd never come across him before, but it's just it's cool when
like Toby
indie
Fox.
devs can really can really make a name for themselves because they make something so awesome, so innovative, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna buy that person's next game because this person is obviously just a super creative, super interesting person who knows what's going on. You know, I love that.
To your point, Ralph, I don't own Inscription on Steam, but I have bought Inscription on Steam several times to gift to friends because I know that they love it, and like spreading the word is the vibe that I go for.
One last thing I'll say on Inscription too is, hey, play it on the Steam Deck because let me tell you, it's easy for me to kind of see gimmicky shit, right? Like when I pick up my DualSense, and I'm saying this as somebody who hosts a PlayStation podcast, I look at the touchpad and I'm like, why do we even have this anymore? Like nobody uses the touchpad.
True.
Nobody programs for this thing. Using the touchpad on the Steam Deck to play Inscription felt so right, and I did not think that was going to be the case. I never thought I was going to use the touchpad on this thing aside from doing shit on the desktop. But if you're playing Inscription on the Steam Deck, it's the default control because you want the mouse cursor movement, and it felt so natural to the point where I'm like, even if they gave me just a regular control stick and buttons option for Inscription, I wouldn't play it that way. I think if playing it feels like it's built for the touchpad. It's ridiculous how comfortable it is and how great it is that way.
That's cool.
So shout out to that.
Yeah, right.
So I've been.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm interested in this game purely because I'm interested in that genre of game where it's like, I can't tell you anything about it, but it's amazing. It's the greatest thing ever. But if I tell you a single thing about it, it fucks the game, me with Outer Wilds every single time. So I'm interested in that for that reason,
Yeah. So I have been playing a little game called Revita. Have you guys heard of Revita?
Never.
I'm a big fan of the PlayStation Vita, yeah.
Revita.
Can Jake, can you edit in one of these ones? Can you put that in there, Jake, too, when you do the edit on this video, man? Thanks.
I'll dig out my Vita right now, but it's definitely at the bottom of my drawer.
Yeah, Revita, it came out this year in April, I believe. It's been in early access since October, but it came out officially this year in April. It's available on Steam and Switch. The unfortunate thing is you know how popular the game is because if you search Revita in Google, the first hit is the Steam page, and the second is the website. The third is the Nintendo Switch store, and then the rest is a bunch of hair products for Revita hair. So
nice.
I thought you were going to be like the fourth is a Google Stadia link that'll let you play Revita in 2 seconds.
I wish. No, Revita is a twin stick platformer roguelike. So it's the way I would describe it is it's like Hades and Celeste merged together to create this.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like it's wonderful. The music's great. The gameplay is fun. The whole concept is that you play as a young boy who has no memory of what's going on in his life, and he just knows that he's in this like abandoned train station, and the train station only goes to one place, and it's the Tower of Fate. And he just knows that he has to climb the Tower of Fate in order to find out the mystery of what happened to his memory. And all of the bosses and themes of each area is themed after an emotion in life. So it's like you fight depression, you fight anger, you fight anxiety. And the whole entire conceit of it is that your health bar is like Zelda, so you got like 3 or 4 heart containers, and it's a platformer, but it's also a shoot 'em up. So like you can get a pistol, you can get a rocket launcher, you can get like a laser gun, and as you kill enemies, they drop soul meter, and you accumulate it, and you use the soul meter to either replenish health or build up a new heart container for yourself. And in between runs and rooms, there's like secrets. You can go to chests and stuff. But the thing is that the currency in the game that you use while you're doing a run is your health meter. So like you go to a store and the store is like, hey, do you want another gun? Cool. Give me a heart or half a heart. Or do you want to upgrade your gun currently, or your one of your relics? Sick. That costs, for level 1, it's half a heart. Level 2 is a heart, and level 3 is a heart and a half. And so it's all about risk reward. It's a game that I feel like a ton of people slept on. It's made by Ben Starr, and the dev who made it is just nicest dude on planet Earth. I booted it up this weekend because I thought it was in early access still, but I just went ahead and picked it up. I blinked this weekend and I've put in about 40 hours.
Wow.
It's one of those.
It's one of those. Yeah. And of course, because it's a roguelike, it's one of those stories that like one run is not enough. You beat the game and it's like, hey, congratulations. But you lost because you didn't find the true ending. You didn't find the true path. Play the game again and find the true path. And as you progress, there's round modifiers, like you get curses. So it takes items away from you. It gives you items that hurt you. And there's, it's all about that beautiful roguelike progression style. And its catchphrase is literally defeat, heal, sacrifice. And that's kind of the whole risk reward vibe of it. I highly recommend it. If roguelikes are your jam.
Oh, it's all blurry.
And it's downloading.
It's Re-Vita. Okay, cool.
Re-Vita, yeah. It's $17 right now on Steam.
I can't wait for this. This sounds awesome. This sounds like my perfect kind of game.
Yeah, sure. It's very chaotic and kind of like Meat Boy, you feel responsible for when you mess up. So it's not quite like, it's got the themes of like Celeste kind of mixed in with that Hades roguelike, you're in a room, have to survive kind of atmosphere. But yeah, let me know what you think, Blessing. I'm so curious to hear what you think of the game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is a Gerard-ass game.
Yeah.
Just like looking up gameplay. Like, I'm in for this. Ralph, you got one for us?
Well, I think you and I both have the same one that we've been playing, and Dome Keeper. And I have been loving this. Like, I saw this at a Steam Next Fest. I gave it a crack because everyone was talking about it. And I played it. I'm like, whoa. It was immediately like the tightest game I played in terms of raw game design that I played across that whole Next Fest. You are essentially a miner. Like, imagine there's a dome, okay? And on this blank area. And you can't go outside the dome, but you can dig down underneath. And you need to collect resources underneath and then bring them back up to your dome to feed defenses. And what's going to happen is intermittently waves of enemies are going to come in, and then you need to like shoot them with a laser or with this big sword thing. And so you need to kind of like sustain the dome when it takes damage and repair it. You need to increase its like durability. You need to increase your ability to move faster or carry more weight as you go down to mine. But there is just this tension that is present in every single moment of gameplay where every single decision you are agonizing over because you're like, oh, can I go down? Is there enough time to do one more run? Or am I going to get caught down there when the next wave comes? Or you're like, should I spend this on defense? Because my mine is getting really deep now. And if I could travel faster, like I kind of need that at this point. There's just so much tension in every moment and in every decision. And it just plays so well. I have probably it's a small game. I probably put around 10 hours into it on my Steam Deck. And I've seen most of it at this point. I think I'm not sure what you think about this, Jake, but I feel like this feels like an early access title more than it does a complete release, because there's such a great concept here that you could take it so many directions, but the current package doesn't really do a lot with that. It's kind of just a few things and that's it. So I'm that one aspect of it I'm a little bit disappointed by, but given the price tag and given how much I've gotten out of it, I certainly don't feel ripped off by it. I just feel like there's a lot further you could have taken this, and I hope they do. So
it's a humble offering. I do feel almost like at this point I actually like that it's not too, because the main mode, so you unlock different modes, but the main mode that you start with, you can complete it. You can complete it in like a sitting. If you do pretty well, you can pull it off, and it's like, good job, you did it. And I was like, oh, I'm not used to these games doing that. I suck. I'm usually like stuck in these games forever. Sure. But I kind of like that. I definitely think they could do a lot more with it, especially with just how satisfying it is to. One thing I did want to touch on is how satisfying it is to move and dig. It's got that SteamWorld dig type of thing, that like tactile, like ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-ch, ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-ch, getting through all the little blocks and stuff. But you're also on a little hover pack. So you're kind of gliding around and then hitting bricks to drill down. And then it kind of has that fun tightness of like, how much more time do you have to bring your resources back up? But resources are tethered to you. and there's like a little bit of physics to them. So they swing around as you fly back up. And you can only grab a couple because your little jetpack can't go fast enough. So it's like, how many do I grab? Will I be able to get back up in time? And then the fact that getting the resources back up to your dome is kind of like a little like basketball, like slam dunk effect, where it's like you're flying up, you drop some off there, and then you go right back down to try and grab some more if you can pull that off. Yeah. And it's also just got this weird, it's got kind of like that FTL, like faster than light, Cannibal almost style too, where it's very pixelated. It's very like chill and dreary. Not a lot of music, not a crazy amount of effects going on. The monsters that come to attack your dome are like these weird aliens that are very like abstract, like dark Cthulhu-esque
shadow people.
Things. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And I just get excited to do runs. Ralph, every time you do a run, you see the dome come landing onto this alien planet. And every single time you see it coming through the atmosphere, and then it cuts to the surface and there's one wandering alien on the surface. And every single time he looks up and then just lays down on the ground and accepts his fate and then gets hit by your dome.
He's like, I'm
it's so funny every time.
So good. No, it's a little touches. It does actually have, it doesn't have much music, but it has a nice little backing track if you listen for it. And the sound design is so subtle, like the different resources that you collect all have their own sounds and they kind of bounce around but it's just that they were very aware of the soundscape they were building, of the vibe they were going for. It's beautifully maintained the whole way through. I really think it's a terrific game because I play my fair share of indies, and it's rare that one really just sort of jumps out as like, oh shit, you've really nailed something here. But this definitely feels like it has very strong mobile game energy as well. And I don't mean that in a shitty pejorative sense. I mean, like, if this could exist on mobile, I would be so happy and I would play it all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because it just has this kind of simple input, like quick decision making, cathartic gameplay style that would work so well. If you had like a 5-minute session, you could do this sort of game in 5 minutes, So, yeah, I think it's the start of something for Domekeeper. I really think they'll take it further on different platforms, into sequels and whatever. And I'll be really glad if they do, because it's very worthwhile.
Yeah, Domekeeper, definitely.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Look it up.
Just bought it, baby.
Oh,
I'm ready to play it.
I sent you a code, Gerard. You didn't need to buy it. I said check your DMs.
That's the thing. Even though you sent me a code,
sure,
I'm still a fan of supporting the developer.
Yeah, give him money.
That's my vibe. As much as it's like I get free codes all the time.
So
sometimes I don't.
Yeah. See, I'm all about that, Gerard. Yeah. I needed to DM me that code though. Just send me that.
Now, for the sake of time, I definitely want to cram in room for one more Blessing. You said you did have one other one you wanted to mention.
Oh yeah, Tinykin. I don't know if you guys have messed around with, or like if you guys have looked into Tinykin, but like it's a really cool indie game with a really cool art style. It came out last month. It's on Xbox Game Pass for people who can check it out there. And it's basically a 3D platformer that has like a lot of Pikmin vibes. You're playing as this like little spaceman who has like these little critters called Tinykin that follow him around, and you go around these 3D platforming levels. You collect Tinykin, and the different color Tinykin have different abilities that they have. Like you have the red ones that explode if you throw them at something. You have like other ones that stack up on top of each other so you can climb them. You have others that will help you move big objects. And it's like I'm somebody who I've not played Pikmin, but I assume Pikmin works in a similar way. At least for playing Smash and fighting Olimar.
I haven't played Pikmin. What the what?
I haven't played Pikmin.
What?
It's like in that gap. I have like this weird GameCube gap because I didn't have a GameCube growing up. Right, I like went from the N64 to the PS2, and so like I'm somebody who I'm half my blood is Nintendo, and then the other half is PlayStation.
Sure.
But like GameCube specifically, I just have like this weird fucking I don't know anything.
Sure, this blackout.
I didn't play Melee. Yeah. I didn't play Sunshine. I didn't play Wind Waker. And I know if I go back and play them, I'd love them. But one day, all those games will get ported to Switch. But yeah, I didn't play Pikmin, and so like Tinykin in a weird way is my Pikmin, where I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Is this what I've been missing out on this whole time? Because all like collecting the different Tinykin, using them to like solve challenges is really fun. But I think really the star of this game is the level design. Each level, like the whole game takes place within a house, but each level is a different room of the house. And so like you go into a room and there are these critters that have like civilizations and societies that exist within these rooms, and you're talking to them and you're helping them with their issues, right? Like one of them they're like, hey, we want to do a race, and so like we need you to collect the different parts of like we need a car, we need a trophy, we need this, we need that, and you're going through, and the levels are constructed kind of like Banjo-Kazooie levels or like DK64 levels, where it is you are exploring and doing whatever comes natural to get all the collectibles to then come back and do the thing. And the level design for me has just been delightful to play through. I beat it all in like probably like a couple days. It took me maybe 6 to 7 hours to do, but within those 6 to 7 hours, I was hooked. I couldn't get enough of it. The whole vibe of it, I think, is delightful. The art style is incredible. It's probably up there for me in terms of art style of the year. I think it is amazing to look at throughout. And yeah, it's just a fun time. So if you're looking for a platformer that kind of invokes Banjo-Kazooie, highly recommend Tinykin.
Lucy,
yeah, Banjo,
Lucy
that's a good pitch.
Lucy played this one. She was all about it. She loved it. The GameSpot crew as well. I think Tam was playing this as well. He loved it. So yeah, I've definitely heard awesome things about it. It does look fantastic.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Indie check-in. I think we should make this like a regular segment when we can.
I agree. And one other thing I would say is that this week is the Steam Next Fest. This podcast will go up on Friday or Saturday. So there'll be 1 or 2 days left of the Next Fest when that happens. Please go and check that out if you're on PC or Steam Deck. It's just hundreds of indie demos. It really easily searchable, and they also force rank them by like most played or most wishlisted. Just get in there, start downloading some stuff. I've downloaded literally 50 demos that I plan to check out this weekend. I'm super excited for that. Oh, yeah. And yeah, the Steam Next Fest is always a massive highlight. So
I've discovered really cool stuff from
absolutely,
Steam Next Fest.
For sure. I love to see stuff bubble up that gets talked about, and everyone's like, "Ooh, this is pretty weird." Like Undecember is like this really awesome looking ARPG that's just popped up out of nowhere and looks sick. And Manor Lords is this like medieval town builder game that everyone's obsessed with. And Soulstone Survivors is this really nice looking Vampire Survivors kind of spin-off sequel, not a sequel thing, sorry, but like another take on it, but it's
Ralph.
3D.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, so like there's
I'm not ready for another one.
Did you check out Agent 64 Spies Never Die?
I did. I played that the last Next Fest. That was sick.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was like, I didn't know that existed until the Next Fest, and I was like, this is fucking awesome.
It is.
So yeah, highly recommend people checking that out.
Yep.
Man, so many games. All right. Good luck with that, everybody. Hope you have time to play those. Next up, just for you guys listening, major game releases at the time of this podcast. We got a little bit of a list. Excuse me. We have Grounded hitting 1.0 for Xbox and PC. We have The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero for PS4, Switch, and PC. We have Moon Scars for all platforms. We have Moonbreaker on PC. Valkyrie Elysium for PS4, PS5. FIFA 23 on everything except for Switch.
But I think it did come to Switch, but it's like the last version
later.
And then they just
still playing that?
Yeah, they still do that shit. So good job.
Boy, that went over well last time.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
I still love IGN still post the same review, I think, every single year for
love that.
which is amazing.
Yeah, that's good. We also have Marauders for PC, Overwatch 2, which we discussed, Nier on Switch. I believe that's Nier Automata. Yes. Seems like that's getting received pretty well, and No Man's Sky hitting Switch. I'm definitely gonna dive into that. We have a couple of games we've been playing this week, but the first one I want to kind of dive into is actually something that's not out. Ralph and I got to preview Gotham Knights, the new Batman game featuring not Batman because he is dead. I don't know if you guys know that, but
Batman is
Jeff Keighley told me.
We got to play a pre-release version of the game. The game comes out towards the end of the month. And I got to spend about 2.5 hours with it. Ralph, you probably got a little longer. I had like some tech issues.
No, I think it's about the same. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
If you watched my video on my YouTube channel or Ralph's video, we're kind of in the same boat on some aspects, but others not so much. Long story short, for me, I'll go first. I'm a little mixed on it. I really love Batman. I love the Bat family. I love those stories. So I'm a little biased. It's very hard to not compare the game to the Batman games before it, like Arkham Knight. But as its own thing, it seems like a video game-ass video game. Combat seems all right. I need to spend more time with it, unlock a lot of things to really see it all come together. It's simpler than Arkham Knight. It doesn't feel the same way. It's kind of its own thing. It's got a kind of RPG, really like MMORPG, like cooldown abilities that you can cast that do certain things, like throw out some drones that will heal you and hurt some opponents. Or Nightwing has just like a cool elemental blast attack that will interrupt heavy attacks, like stuff like that. I don't know, the combat, it's the main crux of the game, combat and some stealth. And I don't know if it's going to be enough. I found myself starting to get a little bored from it. I think I was already like kind of arguing with people in my comments, which I shouldn't do, about how like some people are like, well, the Arkham combat gets old after a while. And I disagree, because there's such a layer of kind of, I've said this before on this podcast, but you can play that game like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater if you're good. Yeah. You're comboing from dude to dude to dude and doing different things for different scenarios for every person. I don't think Gotham Knights is going to have that layer of complexity in terms of incorporating gadgets and different weaponry into your combos, into your streaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Combos, it's not really about combos. It's more about building your momentum meter, which means you will get access to your cooldown abilities faster. So it's like, it's fine. The animations are incredible. Nightwing looks cool. Batgirl looks cool. Those are who I predominantly played as.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ralph.
Yeah. I mean, on the combats specifically, I think it's fine, but I do agree with that point. And one thing I didn't talk about in my review is that all of your abilities are just like dumps. And I think that's generally a challenge. Like you're dumping a resource to produce an outcome rather than abilities that can be woven into your combos that make combat more expressive and more interesting. It's kind of just like, cool, you've hit enough bad guys enough times. Now you get access to the strong thing. And then you press a button and it does like a barrage of punches and does a lot of damage. Or you throw out some batarangs all of a sudden, again, lots of damage, right? It's almost like combat stalls in those moments while you dump those resources and then you continue on, right? Which I think is generally a bit of a red flag in most action like combat games, if you can't weave that stuff in. Having said that, haven't seen all the stuff. Maybe those abilities do come later and they're just, the ones that I've seen are just those resource dumps. But yeah, it definitely felt less impactful and interesting. I think the enemy HP is a lot higher as well, which meant you were just beating on dudes for way longer this time around. The
heavy guys. Oh
man,
God.
That was bad. It was kind of just like, yo, just chop this HP bar in half or maybe even down to a third and let's get back onto that, not this, So, yeah, look, but they all felt distinctive to play as, which I thought was cool. I like that. It wasn't just reskinned characters. They all had their own thing going on, which I enjoyed. I personally was fine with the combat. I very much liken it to Guardians of the Galaxy, which is that the combat was not the best, but it was like good enough. And I had fun while I was fighting. I really enjoyed the story parts of this, and I'm not a bat person like you are, Jake. But I was really into the writing and the characters. Like that was actually really clicking for me. And as someone who's not close to that universe, I'm really keen to jump into it and like meet these characters, learn what the Court of Owls is or something. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it sounds cool, So all that stuff I'm really down for. One area that I'm really, really bummed out about, though, is visual design and how much of a downgrade this is versus the Arkham series, particularly Arkham Knight. And you and I had some different thoughts on this, Jake, because you think Gotham looks really cool, and I think Gotham looks shit compared to what we had in the past. Like,
I think Gotham itself looks cool. I think the thing with, and again, I like feel bad for comparing. But
sure.
The thing with Gotham City in Arkham Knight is that it's like, it's very much the Rocksteady thing, which from the first Arkham game, it's like everybody has big muscles. Everything is wet. Everything is sick as hell. It's so cool. So Gotham City, of course, is going to look like that.
Yeah.
Where this is more of a pared down style game. I just thought like standing on the rooftops, I like the look of this Gotham City. I like the distinct districts. I like that they're tying into the history, but I also just like all the neon and the smoke, and it just felt moody in a different Gotham City way.
I think I would have agreed with you had I not gone back and had a really good look at how Arkham Knight used to look or looks, because I had forgotten, because back then I remember like, whoa, this looks incredible, right? And then that was 7 years ago. So I've forgotten. Okay. And then I played Gotham Knights and I'm like, okay, this looks pretty nice. Sure. And then I went back and played and then looked at footage of Arkham Knight and I'm like, what? And obviously, again, important caveat, it's not a sequel, okay? It's a different game, of course, but you do have two very different visions of the one city. So it's natural to compare them, and it's from Warner Brothers, even though it's a different developer. And it's also like, there's just a lot of shared DNA between these two games, obviously. And anyone who says otherwise is just having a laugh. And I'm okay with it being very different. But again, that difference between the look and feel of Gotham is so stark for me and just feels like such a massive downgrade that I'm just like, this is a real bummer, And
well, for me, it was really because I found the city pretty lifeless once you got on the ground and stuff.
Absolutely.
And like flying around on the rooftops, there's like nothing really going on the rooftops. Maybe you'll find a crate, but the crate just pops like a weird stat currency thing. It feels like a live service game leftover. Like it was like they were trying to do something else for all these boring stats and elemental things I don't care about. But I'm really curious to see if Gotham City on the street level is going to be fleshed out, right? Because a lot of the emphasis on the game, the loop is pretty clever. So you go to the Belfry, the home base, and that takes place during the day. And that's where you follow up on clues. You talk to characters, you change your equipment, you swap your stuff, you cash in to, fill out your skill tree and get new abilities and stuff. And then you choose to walk out the door and it's like, okay, start a night patrol. Like, are you going to go out at night and fight some crime? And then you go out and then that's when you either pursue main story stuff or side quest stuff. So like, I like that, but I don't really know where I was going with that. I totally had a brain fart, but
in terms of the city and how dynamic it is to be out in it and how that feels.
Yeah, like what else is going to be out there if you're adventuring, if you're really clicking, okay, go out to Gotham City, because like we figured out the open world superhero game thing somewhat, where like how you can be kept busy and how it can make sense. And I just didn't see a lot of it here.
Yeah, I mean, even like Spider-Man, for example, and obviously unfair to compare New York City in Spider-Man to Gotham because they're aiming for different things in terms of Gotham is not meant to have lots of civilians walking around and traffic and whatever else. But it's like, well, what could you have put in that Gotham to make it feel like it's full and buzzing?
Tanks.
That's right. And whatever if that comes later, great. But it certainly wasn't in the slice that we played. And so I guess I should say as well, like, I'm actually okay with all this. I'm not like, oh, this looks garbage. I actually think this will be fun. I'm kind of keen on it, actually. I think the story looks cool. I think the combat's good enough. I think it's just a comic book video game that I'm interested in playing. But as I said, I do have in the back of my mind, and I was really trying to push Arkham out of my mind actively. Like I was working hard to be like, stop comparing it. But I couldn't stop comparing it because I was just like, oh, we've had this other thing so much better in this other game 7 years ago. What's up with this, Which might be unfair, but I think a lot of people are going to land in that same place anyway. That's just the reality of it,
I think we've pointed out things because like we do ultimately like love this type of game.
For
like
sure.
I even with its faults, I am looking forward to sitting down and like at least it's a competent game where I can punch some bad guys and see a story. There are some things that we couldn't cover in the preview, like story wise, that like I'm really excited to see where that possibly goes. As someone who loves these characters and is always down for new interpretations of them, I like seeing this Dick Grayson, this Barbara. Like I want to see where that goes, and I'm definitely gonna play it for that at the very least. I think the only thing that's hard for me to get over is like where I say video game, like the more cynical aspects of it, where it does feel like some people in my comments were saying they're like, oh, this almost kind of feels like AC Valhalla slapped on a Batman game, where I was like, what are you saying? And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, numbers, stats.
Oh, okay.
Endlessness, and I was like, okay, I can see where that is. For me, it's like the UI, the damage numbers I don't care about, the stats numbers. Like I need to play more of the game to see where that really comes into play.
Sure.
Does the combat get deeper? Do those stats matter? Does swapping your equipment matter? I'm looking forward to, like, I liked what I played enough to want to pursue those questions more with the main game.
Please no 80-hour-long Gotham Knights. Just putting that out there. Please no. Feels like 20 hours is going to be fine.
I hope not, because like we've seen moments in the game that like felt pretty inspired.
I got it,
like,
investing. I got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake.
We've seen moments in it that were kind of inspired. Like we did the whole we did a whole Harley Quinn sub quest where like a lot of people are dunking on this moment where it's like a jail cell brawl and they play like a girl rock band cover of Ricky Martin Living La Vida Loca, which like
did you like that?
I thought that fit with a Harley Quinn sequence. Like,
sure.
Yeah, of course that's going to be like a dumb thing. Like, I don't think it's like, they're like, oh, Nightwing would like this song. I don't think that's like what they were doing. I thought it worked. So like, if we see more sparks of cool, like creativity and weird flair, which they have room to do with the villains and stuff, like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not expecting this to be incredible. I'm expecting it to be a fun video game. I hope it surprises me. The same way Guardians, I think if I played through Guardians of the Galaxy, I probably would have a similar, as a preview, I probably would be saying similar things to what I'm saying now about Gotham Knights. And I never would have been able to anticipate how much I would love Guardians of the Galaxy. So hopefully Gotham Knights turns around and surprises me in that same way, you know?
Yeah, I'll say the exact same thing. The whole package could be much stronger. And if I was the type of person that like had a close friend and I played through games with them, I would be very excited. I would be like, I can't wait for you to be Nightwing and for me to be, what did you refer to him as in your video? Robin 3?
So Robin the third. I don't know Bat people, and this is the third Robin apparently. So that's it, Robin 3, you know?
So I'd say definitely if you're watching, definitely stay tuned because we'll probably be talking about the full game pretty soon.
Yeah.
Not to interject, but a little bit of breaking news, I guess. A little breaking news.
Oh boy.
Activision Blizzard announced just now that Overwatch 2's mandatory phone number policy will be rescinded.
Good.
And it'll go live October 7th is when it'll be updated. So
jumped on that quick.
That's good.
Yeah, they made the decision
my video is now outdated.
Yeah, they have made the decision to remove the phone number requirements for a majority of the existing Overwatch players. Any Overwatch player with a connected Battle.net account, which includes all players who have played since June 9th, 2021, will not have to provide a phone number to play. We are working to make this change and expect it to go live on Friday, October 7th.
Oh, great.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you that's good.
Yeah. Sorry, it popped up on my.
You should have shared that, especially with how hard we dunked on it before.
Yeah, we just did a whole segment on it, so everyone at home's going to be like, "Yo, wrong." Well, perfect. Yeah, time is a funny thing.
Yeah, I just got a press release from Gotham Knights saying that they are going to require a phone.
That's where it went.
That's wild. Man.
That's crazy, man.
Holy cow!
This is
in
mine
order
now.
to unlock the Joker, you must give them your social security number. So actually, I want to move on to you briefly, Blessing. This week, you played FIFA 23. Now, as a non-sportsman here, I don't know about anybody else. What's your experience and what made you jump into this one?
So I've always loved FIFA. FIFA has been like one of my favorite sports games, and honestly, like one of my favorite games growing up, especially like back in the day. It was me and my friends used to play fighting games in FIFA, right? Like those were the two halves. Like
bunch of jocks.
Just a bunch of, and honestly, like I miss my friend group from back home in Illinois because honestly, it would be us like on a Friday night being like, all right, what are we doing? Yo, let's play FIFA, but first let's go to Walmart. We're gonna buy the white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. We're gonna bake them, and play FIFA. Right? Like that's what me and the homies were doing.
That's crazy, man. Jesus.
Yeah, we're a bunch of crazy dudes, just dudes being pros, playing FIFA, eating chocolate.
That's like a crazy weekend.
Yeah, it was like it was such a time, but also like FIFA is just such a fun game, especially like if you're into soccer, of course. Like I think that you can probably say the same thing for any sports game, right? If you're into football, you're probably like Madden. If you're into basketball, you're probably like 2K. But for me, FIFA was the one, especially playing it with friends growing up, where it was we played 2v2. And so in FIFA, I don't know if it's still like this because I haven't played 2v2 FIFA in a while, but with each pass you make on offense, it would alternate who's controlling. And so you would really have to kind of strategize and kind of understand what your FIFA partner was doing, right? Where it is, all right, you go on the run. As soon as you're on the run, I'm going to give you a through pass to get to leave you open for the goal. And you're strategizing that in that sort of way. That was me back then. That was like college years. I've actually not been as hooked on FIFA. I'd say in the last maybe 7 years. Wow. I'd come in maybe periodically where it is, you know, like, okay, cool. FIFA 2020. I'll play a little bit of that. I play it for like maybe a few days or a week and then pop out. I think 2020 had the Volta mode that I liked a lot. And so I played through that campaign, but I was also like, that was a day or two. FIFA 21, I didn't play that much, but then FIFA 22, I would say is probably the most I've played FIFA in a long time. And it's for a few reasons. One, I don't know what's in the water with the mechanics of FIFA 22, but I've like been more engaged with it just from a gameplay perspective. There's something about like getting a goal in this iteration of FIFA that has me like hyped and excited with each goal that I've not had in a while. And I think maybe it is like I feel like there was a shift in the physics systems. I think with this jump to current gen, we've gotten far enough in like the way FIFA controls to where it feels sluggish and realistic in a good way, a little bit in a bad way, but like mostly in a good way of, yeah, these characters feel real, right? Like when I get a ball, like each touch feels like its own moment of like, all right, receive, cool, now turn, now go. And I feel myself being more engaged with the, all right, now I just gotta thread this pass, right? Like I'm in it in every single moment in a way that I think is beyond what I've even felt with FIFA in years past. So I'm into that. They also added, what are they called? Fucking something FC. So the soccer team,
Richmond
FC. Thank you. Yeah, sure. AFC Richmond. Yeah. They added that from the TV show Ted Lasso, and I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. Yeah. And so that was the thing that originally got me to boot up FIFA. I was like, okay, I want to do one match as AFC Richmond. And I played online as them and I lost in the way that fits for AFC Richmond. And after that match, I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. Let me do another match. And I just kept going with online seasons with that. And it's been such a fun way doing it that way. But then also I've been hopping a little bit into Volta. And Volta is basically FIFA Street, but just built into FIFA proper. And in years past, like in FIFA 2020. Oh yeah, like and it's crazy because it's literally just FIFA Street. Like they've even added in like arcade-ish like super abilities in this iteration, where if you press R1, if you're on defense, you can get super speed, or you can do like a super shot. Like they've added in arcade shit like that. But they started doing it a couple of years ago, and with it there was like a story mode that you do and all this stuff that like made it feel like a proper FIFA Street game. And in this new iteration for FIFA 22, they don't have the story mode, which bums me out a little bit, but I've still been doing it. I've still been playing it anyway, just because it's a nice refresher from just traditional FIFA. It's like a different way to play. That is, hey, you might be in a stadium with walls, and so the ball bounces off of walls, right? Like it is 5v5 or 4v4 or 3v3, depending on how you want to do it. And it's just a really casual, fun way to interact with the game. So I've been enjoying the Volta mode. But yeah, like overall, I've just been into FIFA in this year in a way that has gone beyond past years. And I can't tell you entirely what it is other than it's more fun this time. Like, I don't know. Like I'm just having a good time with it. So
you made it sound great from someone who like, I went from not caring to being like, maybe I should try this FIFA thing.
I am not a sports guy at all, Blessing. And you made me want to go try FIFA.
Yeah, you're good at this. Damn.
Try it just for Volta, I think. Like if you're not a FIFA or soccer person, I think the learning curve for this latest one might be a bit stiff, just because it can be pretty slow. It can be pretty like, man, I really want to get this pass off and none of my passes are getting there. I'm so used to it that I think I've kind of surpassed that. But Volta is fucking dope. I love it as a mode. It's really fun, and there's stuff built in there to where you're essentially building your own team. You start off and you create yourself, and like you name yourself and you name whatever your team is, and the more you play, the more you can unlock better players and better stats, and like there's a skill tree for your character and all this shit. It's really fun, and it's a really laid back way to play. So if you're looking to just fuck around in the game, highly recommend that mode.
Damn. All right. Well, Gerard, I wanted to ask you about Shovel Knight Dig. It's been out. I played a little bit on iOS. I've been playing the mobile version. You have a lot of experience with the series for obvious reasons.
I mean, first and foremost, I will steal the term shill up and add it to shillpletionist, because I am not only am I a massive Shovel Knight fan, I got to play the 90s live action version of Shovel Knight in the commercial for Shovel Knight Dig. I wrote, directed, and produced it with one of my business partners, Michael Barity, and it's officially on the Nintendo YouTube channel, and that's really rad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's really cool to be a part of that. The Yacht Club guys really trusted me with it. And my video, completionist wise, on it comes out this weekend on nice. Shovel Knight Dig. It's actually out now by the time this airs, so you'll be able to see it. But I love my boys and my girls over at Yacht Club Games. This is the weakest entry in the Shovel Knight series, hands down.
Wow.
And that's not a bad thing because the quality and caliber of Shovel Knight and Pocket Dungeon are so large that this is not like bad by any means, but this game came out too early. You could beat the game pretty quickly. You can complete it pretty quickly. And there's just not enough. This is supposed to be a roguelike, right? It's a roguelike about digging down, and it's a prequel to the Shovel Knight story, so it's really endearing and fun and cohesive to the lore. It's supposed to be more 16-bit Sega Genesis as opposed to 8-bit NES. And the music is very reflective of that, and same as the art style.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about it, Jake, but I think it took me about 45 hours to complete this game. And I just ran into tons and tons and tons of bugs. And it's unfortunate because that's not the Yacht Club way, right? Like the quality of standard of Shovel Knight through all of the treasure trove and through Pocket Dungeon, those games, they had their bugs for sure, but like none of them were game breaking. None of them stopped you from progression. None of them stopped you from completing the game or getting certain achievements or trophies.
This is Nitrome though, right? This is Nitrome in partnership with Yacht Club.
Correct. So Nitrome is the main developer, and Yacht Club Games is in partnership, basically directing and marketing and advertising the game and all that stuff. But I know that Yacht Club really has their hands in the process. But this is one of those games that like is on Apple Arcade, which means Apple Arcade probably paid a bunch of money to make sure that it came out on Apple Arcade in their time window, which meant that there probably was some crunch. There probably was some moments of like, hey, we have to get this thing out sooner rather than later because Shovel Knight Dig was announced 2 or 3 years ago before Pocket Dungeon even. And then Pocket Dungeon was announced a couple of months later. And then Pocket Dungeon came out almost a year before Dig did. So there's definitely, you can kind of feel it in the gameplay loop. You know how when you play stuff like Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, Hades, where it's like, oh man, I'm really synergizing with all of the random power-ups I'm getting.
Yeah.
There's little to no synergy in the game when it comes to getting items, which is a big thing for me because to me, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, roguelikes are about risk reward, but they're also about breaking the game in that process of risk reward. It's about compounding snowball, right? You start the game, you're pushing a little snowball. By the end of the game, should you play well, should you have good luck, you're going to have either a gigantic snowball that destroys everything in your way and you feel good to conquer everything in your way, or through the power of RNG, you have the tiniest snowball, it's gone worse, and your skill is what will get you to the end. And so there's that risk reward factor. This game is just pretty tough in that way. There's not a lot of items. I think there's like 30 to 40 items in the game that don't really synergize. There's no benefits. There's no over the hump kind of gameplay style. You do unlock things pretty quickly. You can unlock a majority of the playable items and such within the first few hours. But the game is tough. It's not the easiest, especially because there is a true ending path. It's very, very, very vague to understand. And of course, I didn't run into that many bugs. The bugs I ran into were achievement based. So, for instance, right now in its current build of the game, I in my video, I've completed as much as I can. I have 99% completion on this game. And it's because my last achievement that I have to get is beat the game under 25 minutes, which is a very common Shovel Knight achievement that's in all their games. I have beaten the game in 20 minutes, in 19 minutes, in 17 minutes, in 18 minutes, 21 minutes. The achievement is bugged and will not proc. And that's on all platforms. There are some achievements that reset once you get them. You get them and boom. And if you go on Twitter, unfortunately, or the Shovel Knight subreddit, or even the Shovel Knight Discord, you're going to see tons of players reporting bugs and stuff like you'll enter a room and there's nowhere to go. There's just you enter a room and you're stuck. And how the game works is if you don't move after like 30 seconds, a buzzsaw comes down and kills you.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
I
and
had that once.
We had to make a sandwich, and then boom, that's what happens.
Yeah. so I mean that I feel conflicted, right? Because I love Shovel Knight. I'm like, I almost consider myself a Shovel Knight historian at this point with how much I know the game and love the games. But yeah, there's just in its current form, it's not where it needs to be. I'm hoping that through they just announced a bunch of free DLC updates are coming and a bunch of expansion packs are on the way. And this is a game that on launch it's not bad by any means, right? It's a pretty solid B minus, I would say. If I had to give it like a letter grade, right? A year from now, 2 years from now, when everything's patched out and fulfilled, and they've added more bosses, more levels, more stages, synergies, new armors, it'll be a pretty hefty game by the time they're done with it. And I get the vibe that's what they're going for by the time that finish line comes for Shovel Knight Dig.
Yeah, I still recommend checking it out. Definitely, it's challenging. Like, for me, I'm not like good at video games, but I found it pretty challenging. I agree with you on the items. That's where I kind of bounced off, where I didn't find them too compelling. But I still would definitely say check it out. I would recommend, the mobile version. Just playing it with the touch controls is pretty rough. So
I highly recommend a controller.
Yeah, definitely.
In all cases, always use a controller. But that's just me.
Yeah. But I think that's about all we have time for today. We have a lot more games I wish we could get to, but them's the breaks. Is that what they say? Right?
That is what
I
they
think
say.
so.
That's
what
the
does
way
that
the
even
cookie
mean?
crumbles.
Is that when you're
crumbles.
stopping your vehicle, you say them's the brakes? Confirm that that's terrible.
I don't
Not
think
a good
that's
joke.
what it is.
So thank you guys for being here. Blessing, thank you very much for being here and being one of the replacement friends. You killed it. You crushed
Thank you so
it.
much for having me. This has been really fun.
You made me want to play FIFA. I didn't think anyone could do it.
I didn't know I had that power. I didn't know I can make anybody actually want to play FIFA. But yeah, go play some FIFA 23. I'll play you online.
So where can the people find you, and what do you got cooking?
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Blessing Jr. is my username there. I am on Kind of Funny. I am on pretty much all of our gaming shows except for the XCast because they don't let me anywhere near an Xbox. But yeah, you can find us on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. I host our daily news show, Kind of Funny Games Daily, that happens every morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And so if you want to catch an hour-long dissection of video game news and headlines, you can check me out there. I'm also on our PlayStation podcast, PS Love You XOXO. That comes out every single Friday on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and on podcast services around the globe. So you can find me there.
Gerard, what about you?
You can find me on youtube.com/thatonevideogamer. I'm on G4 as right now, currently one of two hosts on XPlay. It's me and Adam Sessler holding down the fort in the interim as we figure things out over there. And next month, if you are in Los Angeles or you want to come to LA, I have a charity event called Indie Land. We're doing it in person. We have some awesome guests. We have a big special guest, actually. AEW's Adam Cole will be a part of our crew. So if you like wrestling games and you like the streamer AEW's Adam Cole, Chugs, he'll be there too. It'll be a fun time raising money for charity. I'm probably going to have to do something awful. Blessing's been to the event digitally. It's a chaotic mess where we eat hot sauce and get waxings. And I think there's an incentive this year to get a tattoo for me. So I'm not looking forward to that because I don't have a tattoo. Whoa. So that's going to be crazy. I will say, because we're out of time, this week in Fortnite gaming is pretty big, but I will leave you with one old bone chilling game that will make you all feel old. Are you ready for it?
Let's go.
Mortal Kombat, the franchise, turns 30 years old this week.
Oh my God.
Yep.
30 years ago, it came out in the arcades. Feel old, everyone.
Still remember playing
Feel old.
Yep, I do remember playing it. So
I remember seeing the console version and being like, wow, cool.
So much blood.
Where's the blood?
Can I buy
Yeah,
it, Mom?
so
She's
much
like,
blood.
yeah, sure. That's fine. Looks fine. That looks okay. Here, take it. No worries.
Yeah.
It'll keep you quiet. Just take it. Go away.
Changed the landscape of video games forever. And you know who else did? Ralph.
Did he?
Where can people find you?
Wow,
What do you got
that's
going
big
on?
praise. I'm doing random stuff. I've got some previews coming up that I can't talk about, plus a bunch of reviews. Can I just say as well, it's really nice. This month we're getting review code really early for some games, which is like amazing. It makes me cry tears of joy when I get a game code in my inbox like 3 weeks in advance of an embargo, as opposed to like 3 fucking days. So it's nice. October is crazy. And
blink twice if you're playing Callisto Protocol right now.
I wish.
Oh, he just did it. He just did it. He just blinked twice.
You blinked once. You blinked once.
I can confirm.
No, it is good though. It lets you get up in them guts and really thoroughly evaluate a game.
Correct. I love it. I love it. So I'm just working through that, and you'll find me here. That's it. Here
Same
being
with
my
me.
channel.
You can find me here. Thank you everybody for listening. If you haven't already, definitely maybe consider rating us on a podcast service or leaving a nice comment or thumbing up. It helps if you like what we're trying to do here. We appreciate you, but we will be back not next week, but the week after, because that's how we go. We leave you waiting for more. This has been the Friends Per Second podcast. See you next time. Tie your shoes and go to bed. Blessing, for you're new here. That's the outro. It's just a weird, dumb thing I say. People seem to like it, so I keep saying it. It doesn't make any sense.
Tie your shoes, go to bed.
It just came out.
I love it.
When I tried
Can
to
you
have
say
a phrase.
it, please, Blessing? Can you take us out with the line?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, tie your shoes and go to bed.